When I sat down to write this month's Friend Zone, I had to ask myself, was I writing it, or was it writing me? What up, viewers? What up, what up? Calc Soups here, and welcome to the Friend Zone, a monthly video game show where I discuss the latest games with my friends. Today we'll be grabbing our flashlights and fighting back the darkness while we are discussing Alan Wake 2. We will talk about what we were expecting, how we would describe the game. This will probably take a while talking about Alan Wake and how it fits into the kind of like Remedy gaming universe. We'll talk about our intro and how we started off as a new character with Saga Anderson, and how her play style kind of differs from Alan Wake's gameplay. We'll talk about like skills and upgrades in the game as you get more powerful. We'll talk about the narratives, other characters that run around, some of the puzzles. The slightly controversial probably puzzles slash case boards slash writing boards that you kind of had to interact with. We'll eventually get to the ending. We'll talk about the final chapter, any other DLC or future content we might want, and then we'll top it off with our final thoughts. But without any further ado, let's kick it over to the friends of the Friend Zone, starting with Kevin.
Kevin broke into a cold sweat. He hadn't thought of an intro yet. His mind raced as he grasped for the slightest bit of inspiration. Then, suddenly, an idea.
Nailed it. And Patrick.
That is a damn fine cup of coffee. I'm sorry. I had to do my idea.
Yes, no, you got it.
There. All right.
And Patrick. Nice.
I'm triggered.
Oh my god. Me and Angela just walk around the house now, just like anytime there's a cold, there's just a silence. It's just Alan Wake.
I'm drowning.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Let's talk Alan Wake. So, we can probably skip past the kind of like what we were expecting or how we would describe it. I think the more interesting kind of topic to talk about is just what our experience with Alan Wake is and other Remedy games, and kind of how this, what were your expectations going into this?
Remedy games are like some of my favorite games of all time. So I was very excited to jump in as Alan Wake is like probably like up there is one of my favorite horror games, and so I was so excited about this. Control was so good, and so
and previous Friend Zone game we all played it. I mean,
right,
took some of us a while to get to. I didn't play it until it was
That's right. We did do a Friend Zone about Control, didn't we?
Yeah. I didn't play it till it was free on PlayStation Plus like a year ago or whatever. But so we've all played at least that. I remember playing Alan Wake in college. Like it was just like amongst any nerdy group of friends who are horror inclined. Like it kind of just took over the zeitgeist for a long time. And even as like a Stephen King fan, like this takes from that a lot. A Twin Peaks fan, like it kind of scratches a lot of itches and has a lot of really cool homages to things that I already like. So.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I remember in college, Kevin and I stayed up all night to play the first Alan Wake.
Yeah, we basically just marathoned the whole thing, like trading off every chapter. That was fun, man.
That's awesome.
Great time.
Yeah, that's
precious memory for me.
Yeah. That's I maintain that in my current playthrough. Is like in college, I sat down and played through the first one with a significant other. I think it's just a really good, because it's so narrative driven. Like it's just a really good game to like sit down and play with someone else. And Angela and I, like I said, played 2-3 hour sessions, once a week, and worked our way through it.
It was same for us actually. Liz watched me play the whole time and would get like upset if I played it at all without her because she was invested in the story. So.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah.
It was too scary for Vicky. She tried to watch some of it, but
sure.
That's fair. Yeah, it's pretty spooky.
Yeah, so we've already talked about Control, so we don't have to talk about that too much. Me and Kevin were talking a little bit before that. If anybody picked up Quantum Break. I remember it
I
being
never touched Quantum Break,
yeah.
unfortunately.
The fact that it was an Xbox exclusive, I thought might make it the lesser known of all of them.
Yeah, I didn't have an Xbox at the time when that
Yeah.
came out. I had moved on to PS4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
missed it.
And then yeah, I was talking about right before you hopped on, Patrick. I was like, Max Payne is a Remedy game, or at least the Sam Lake game, right? So like, but I was just like, is it connected somewhere in here? Because like they are making, they definitely originally I'd called it just the Remedy, yeah, the Remedy gaming universe.
Kind of what I said is like I don't think that it like exists in the shared universe like Control and Alan Wake do, but I do think that there's a lot of thematic
and apparently Quantum Break as well.
Oh yeah,
I guess Quantum Break also exists in that shared universe. Although
I mean, I guess it's not confirmed, but Door is a character in Quantum Break.
Is he? Oh
yeah, and if you noticed in the credits, there's like a in memory of Lance Reddick.
Oh, is there
bit.
really?
So Reddick played a character named Door in Quantum Break.
Interesting.
And then he was supposed to play Wallendor in Alan Wake 2, I think.
Oh man, just another piece of the tragedy that is his passing, man.
Yeah. So did you have any expectations going in? Well, like how did that kind of pan itself out?
I mean, I was just psyched to go into this game, kind of like Patrick said. Just a lot of treasured memories around the first. I think, especially with the test of time, Control is probably in my top 3 games ever. I just love it so much.
Totally.
And so I was stoked.
You played the. I didn't play the Control Alan Wake DLC. I think you did, right, Kev? Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was a good like kind of setup to Alan Wake 2 in a lot of ways, like indirectly.
Okay. And then I never played the. There was Alan Wake DLCs, right? Like the American Nightmare, or whatever.
Well, it was a separate game, but yeah.
Okay.
I didn't, and that's the funny. I didn't play American Nightmare for whatever
reason. I didn't either.
But I did watch sort of before Alan Wake 2 came out. I watched a recap of the story.
Sure.
It's pretty interesting, but yeah, that's so. I guess as much as enthusiastic as I am about these games in this studio, I do have some gaps in my knowledge and experience.
Yeah, I mean.
Did you play the Max Payne games, Kevin?
I played the first one. I didn't finish it.
Okay.
But I did play some of it.
Yeah, I don't think I ever touched them. But I knew of them because they were all in the same kind of zeitgeist as like Matrix and Max Payne were all coming out at the same time, and so Bullet Time was like.
Gosh, yeah, I know the Bullet Time was such a big deal.
Yeah.
In the Max Payne games.
That was one of those ones that me and my high school friends were like obsessed with, because it had like that really over the top noir storytelling mixed with like the action, and yeah, it was. So that was my first Remedy game, was Max Payne.
Okay. Well, cool. So we now come into this one and we start playing as a completely new character. So how did we all feel about like the intro and semi-tutorial of playing as Saga?
I would like I'd like to take a moment to just gush about Saga, because I really like her.
I will join you. She's a wonderful character.
Oh yeah.
Such a cool character. She feels so like invested and capable, and like like at no point was I like, oh man, I wish I was Alan. In fact, a lot of the game I was like, oh man, I kind of like the Saga bits a bit more.
Honestly, the Saga bits felt more like the real game to me.
Yes.
Like Alan was still a big part of the game, but like whenever I was in Alan World, it sort of felt like I was in an interlude between Saga sections, even though you had like some freedom, flip back and forth and stuff.
Well, that's definitely that was definitely. I was like, oh, I'm obviously more invested in Alan because like he's the character who's across both of them, and like, and so like when I could switch, the first time I could switch, I just played through all of Alan Wake, Alan Wake story until like the
yeah. For
sure. And then it like got to a point where it was just like, okay, now go do Saga stuff. And then like playing through Saga after doing all the Alan Wake stuff, I was just like, eventually me and Angela both looked at each other and we're just like, I think I like the Saga bits a lot more. And it's just like I didn't like, jumping ahead a little bit, like the rainy world and like the random shadow monsters that would just jump out and punch you, like, and I mean, as much as I love the Alan Wake, like it's just like the running around in that city was less enticing than like we're killing cultists in a forest.
I think that's one of the things, just to toot the game's horn a bit more, like I agree with you, and I think that's actually a really excellent synthesis of game matching narrative.
Yes.
Because Saga is much more of an active character that is out doing things, and Alan is caught in this spiral.
Yeah.
So you do, there is sort of this intentional sense that you're like, it's harder to advance. That you're the world is more hostile and harder to like navigate in Alan's world, and you get set back a lot. And like it makes you feel kind of what Alan is going through as well. And that does make it a slightly less engaging or dynamic sort of gameplay experience. It's less of like Saga, you get very much more of like a Twin Peaksy, but also kind of Resident Evil-y style survival horror. You have a lot more weapons a lot earlier. You're doing just generally more fighting and more traditional types of fighting. The weird shadows in Alan's world are a little less of like a traditional enemy. Fighting a lot of the
time. And like the third or fourth time that you get swapped over from Saga to Alan to end up back in the studio again, you're just like, I could definitely feel the character's frustration because I was semi-frustrated at the time where it's just like, I'm in this fucking studio again and I don't want to be here.
Right.
But about when I started to feel like that, the game just hit me with one of the greatest moments in gaming history. So,
Oh, sure.
I believe you're referring to the musical number.
Yes. Oh my God. Alan Wake, the musical.
I just like, I was completely blindsided by it. And it was sort of one of those like, shit, I'm in the studio again. Wait, what's happening?
Yeah.
Wait, it's still happening. Wait, where am I now?
Yeah.
Something has changed within me.
Oh my God.
Yes. Oh my God. 100% that. Yes.
It's going.
Yep. It'll keep going until you get through the marathon of monsters.
Amazing.
It is a bit of a showstopper, and I think it's like I kind of wish it was like further in.
Me too. I wish it was later.
Sure.
I wish it was later in the game because it's like in the middle of the game.
Yep.
And it's kind of like the rest of Alan's stuff is not as like jaw dropping as that.
Yeah. But it turns out it's defying gravity, and
I was gonna say it's definitely it's 100%. It's 100%.
It's the act 1 finale.
You're right. Yeah. The song right before interlude, and we watched it. We had just gotten to that part, and Angela was like, "What the hell is going on?" And then like it was the Game Awards, and then the Game Awards had the whole thing. Did it again, and it was just like
amazing.
Yeah, and like the lyrics of like show me the champion of light, and I'll give you Herald of Darkness. Oh, just.
And Liz got to hear me be really pompous about analyzing the lyrics and being right about everything.
Oh man. Okay. So. Yeah, I mean, yes, there were definitely highlights of playing as Alan and the cyclical playing in loops and all that kind of stuff. Was the themes were there, but yeah, I think I definitely had a preference towards Saga, because you said she's more the active character.
Right, there were moments in Alan's like levels or whatever that I thought were brilliant. I mean, they like because like they learned the best lessons from Control for his stuff.
Yes.
Like there's that one part in Control where it's like the crazy hallway in the hotel and you're doing all this.
Yeah, the ashtray maze.
Yes, the ashtray maze, and like it just felt like they were like, wow, people really like that. Like this is what Alan's existence is the ashtray maze.
Just let's make his existence the ashtray. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
and it's fun and it's interesting, and it's like even though you're in the same places a lot of the times, it's always like changing.
Yep.
Also, like
but
the weird conceptual space, like the fact that the hotel you go to is called the Overlook Hotel.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
Played Control. There's so many things that are just like, and again, it's like it's kind of there's thematic links, but it's not the same, and the whole thing just they did such a good job of making where Alan was feel like a dreamscape, and like things aren't necessarily logical, but there's like thematic and sort of cognitive links to things. Man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the number of like the amount of control overlap, and I remember saying this early on because it starts happening pretty early in the game. I was like, man, you kind of need to play Control, I think, to really
You
get
don't
all
need
of
to,
this.
but oh
sure.
my god, it is so much more rewarding, and you have so much of a better idea what's happening if you played and understood Control.
Yeah.
Like I did not expect the Federal Bureau of Control to be as much
A
of
prominent
a
character,
physical,
yeah.
active presence.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was, and to me that was a pleasant surprise.
I mean, they were the like Act 3, you know, like as soon as you get the clicker, like they're like they get in the way, and it's like, okay, so there is more to this game. The freaking FBC rushes off Alan Wake. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was already like, man, there's FBC stations everywhere. It's like, it was cool to be like, oh wow, like they you know, I really kind of thought that we wouldn't see it that much, or it would feel like, you know, like there was a much
subtle teases, Easter eggy. Yeah.
It was just like, oh no, they took it seriously. They set up this whole thing. They had containment stuff, and then it still kind of went awry.
And I just can't get enough of Ati. So just like every time he was just there, just talking and saying stuff, I'm just like,
we need to talk about that.
Do like a whole section about that.
Yeah, we gotta do a whole section on Ati because I'm still like, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Fascinated.
Yes.
Yeah. What is happening there?
Well, because as soon as I saw him in the game, I was like, okay, we are in the oldest house right now. That was my guess.
Sure.
Like this is all happening inside one of the, you know, AWE containment facilities.
And then I remembered the side quest in Control where you're helping Ati get ready for his vacation.
Right.
Foundation of the oldest house, and you see big stretches of a lake and stuff, and like he's on vacation now. He's not in the oldest house anymore, and I'm like, holy shit, this is where Ati went when he went on his vacation in Control.
He chose Bright Falls. Wow. Okay.
That
makes more sense.
That's the best I can think of anyway, but it's just like, again, it's all.
I'm gonna accept that because otherwise I'm just like, what? Why are you there?
Yeah, there's like a whole, in like, you know, the later half of Control, he's very much like, I must get ready to go on my vacation or whatever. I can't do Adi's accent.
Oh, I don't think anyone.
Yeah. Like Russian, but yeah, I can't do that Finnish accent. But...
Oh yeah, and like he has his own musical number, like running around. I think my favorite section of the game was the old person's home, because it's just like the soundtrack and just listen to Adi freaking sing.
Adi and the Janitors.
Adi and the Janitors. Oh man.
Folks home, man.
Yeah.
I love that section.
Yes.
That might be my favorite section.
Chapter by chapter and talk about, but like, yeah, going to like the Valhalla retirement community was definitely a highlight.
Yes.
Man, that was so good.
It was like the perfect amount of creepy and
yes.
Yeah.
Especially like, man, Ati is so good in that section too. Like you go up to the spiral door at the top, and you just like behind.
Yeah, it is like, what are you doing?
Like,
yeah, I walked over and I was like exploring the top floor of the retirement home, and I was like, I'd like walked past that door, and Andrew's like, "Oh, you got to go interact with that door," and I was like, "No, that door's not for me." It was just like
the spiral door is definitely
it's a spiral,
yeah. So I was just like, nope, not for me. Like I don't need to interact with that Isaga. And then the freaking semi jump scare when you actually do walk over to it, Ati jumps out. It's like, nope.
That door's not for you.
Yeah. And just tore it out in freaking awesome. Especially
more
Yeah,
old
they're
gods
so
of
fun.
Asgard in this than I expected too, in like a really good way. I kind of thought they would maybe appear in like one chapter, but that they wouldn't be big characters in the story. They
Yeah,
had a
or just
bigger
maybe
role in this game
loosely
than they did in the.
referenced.
Yeah, like they were big in the last game, but they had an even bigger role in this game.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
seriously.
Like a more active role. Like, man, just the and the way that they all tie into the story and what's the story and what's not.
Yeah.
Just twisted.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this will be in DLC. I was hoping for a bit more of a wrap up of like what's true and what's not.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and
the ending a bit like it's very open. You don't get a lot of
closure. Yeah.
stuff. You learn a lot in the ending that recontextualizes what's happened in the game, but man, you don't really get a lot of closure on like, wait, what was the story? What wasn't? Where
Yeah. Like is Tor actually Saga's grandfather? Like,
Yeah.
is that true, or is that just part of the?
Yes,
I think the blending of that and the sort of gaslighting of yourself on a lot of it is, I guess, kind of the point.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice to have, that was really effective during the game. It would have been nice to have that resolved a bit more.
Yeah, because like I love a unreliable narrator type
Oh,
story,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, at a certain point, you know, I want the
the truth. Yeah.
The truth. Yeah.
Yeah, and it does like, again, a lot like Alan's stuff. Like it does take you on kind of this ride with Saga where you are feeling a lot of what the character is feeling too, and like
Yes.
you're grasping it. Like, wait, no, but that was real. She talked to her daughter on the phone. That was real.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's like, and you kind of go in a lot of the same ways as Alan. Like you do kind of go on that journey with the character in a really cool way.
Well, especially like the call with the husband at the beginning of the game versus the call with the husband at the end of the game, where it's just like don't talk. It's just like
don't call me anymore.
Like, are you
Stop calling me?
Yeah, it's just like, oh, okay, this is and it's like all been morphed by Alan's trying to get out of the dark place.
Yeah.
Yeah, the AWE had expanded or something.
Yeah, it had expanded because for a while it was like, okay, it's just it hasn't altered reality outside of Bright Falls. I can still call these people and interact with the truth of them, and then seeing that sort of erode and like, yeah, man, just really good storytelling. But.
Yeah, I loved it, and like I'm pretty sure that like Angela as a passive observer, like we watched. It was funny. We watched like you were talking about. I watched like a 10-minute video talking about like what Alan Wake is and about and stuff like that, and it was just like all narrative context. And she's like, okay, so what do you actually do in the game? And I was like, you run around and shine flashlights at shadow monsters and shoot them, like, but that's what the game is just is the narrative, like.
Yeah, I mean, you're not. Yeah, I will say like the gameplay, the shooting, drastically improved from Alan Wake 1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure.
The story is still the point.
Yeah. I think ultimately the combat, I just kind of, I don't know. It's fine. Yeah.
Better, like having played the Alan Wake remaster not that long ago.
Like, I was curious if anybody picked that up.
It's a lot freaking better.
Sure.
than even the remaster of Alan Wake. But it's still, I mean, it's just not the highlight. It's the narrative is so good. It's like, the combat isn't as good as the story.
Well, and the puzzles I thought were there's so many good puzzles.
I was gonna say that's definitely want to talk about the puzzles and the case board / writing stuff. But we definitely had a pretty good time with the puzzles.
Yeah, and again, it's just like more so than most other games that I've played, the puzzles are for the most part such a good synthesis with the narrative.
Yes.
It's like puzzles for puzzles. There's like a reason that what you're doing works in them, and they say something interesting about the world as you solve them, and there's sort of some thematic layover that helps strengthen what happens in the narrative. And it's just like it's so well thought out and well executed.
Well, yeah,
because like Resident Evil has like really good puzzles, but like they're always just like, why is this here? Why is this puzzle here?
Yeah, it's like solve. Now you must solve my zombie dial puzzle to progress in the haunted house.
Put the lion's
Why?
head in the door,
Yeah,
and it's like,
rotate
what?
rotate the bird so
Why?
it looks like a spider.
Yeah, who designed this
Yeah,
lock?
yeah, like yeah,
And
exactly.
just the fact that like all of the puzzles are like, there is another mystery who is leaving the lunch boxes. There's
Yes.
a little poem or something in each lunchbox that's resonant.
Yeah.
All of the all of the all of the poem puzzles are like, oh, these are all FBC experiments, and they all have reasons for them and are
Yeah.
thematically relevant, and like it's just,
And
it all makes
adds
sense.
to the
It all
charm bracelet,
strengthens.
which
Yeah,
reinforces that you have a daughter and that yeah.
yeah, just like the physical
Hmm.
reminder that, yeah, that you
Yeah.
do
That your
have a
daughter was
daughter,
alive
that your
because she
daughter was
just gave
alive
this to
because she
you.
Yeah.
gave it to you right before you came here. And then that
Hmm.
and then that charm bracelet being like the main way that you get like buffs and character improvements
Yeah.
outside of weapons in the game is a really powerful sort of like, this is your anchor to your reality. It's where you Saga is pulling her strength from. Like, man,
Yeah.
just like really effective stuff.
I will say uh the like case board slash writing board like had to win me over and did so, like especially like I said in like weekly installments where anything could have happened between sessions. A week's worth of time has happened between the sessions, like jumping back in and just like getting a new thing, throwing it on the case board and like trying to understand, like just mapping out like what's going on. Even the overused like characters explaining what's going on like just felt right with like these case boards. So yeah, I loved it, and I didn't want to going into it. Like in the
Okay.
first time I put pictures on a cork board, I was just like, dear Christ, how much time am I going to spend doing this, and
Right.
am I
Like
going to
just
hate
looking
it?
There
at this
was a lot
thing.
of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'm actually really pleased to hear that, because that was the one thing I thought I was going to disagree, and I'm curious to hear what Patrick's takeaway on the case board was, because I loved it, and I know, I was kind of expecting people to not like it as much,
Hmm.
but I again I found it really effective at reinforcing the narrative and also just like the vibes of it,
Sure.
especially with how it contrasts between Alan's writer's room and Saga's case board and Mind
Yeah.
Palace thing. Um,
Yeah.
I found it again really effective at like just making those vibes stick.
Yeah, I also loved it like right off the bat just because it was to me what like made it feel, it let me ease my way into the world, I guess.
Hmm.
Whereas because like I wanted to have that like I'm an FBI agent in a Twin Peaks scenario.
And it
Yes.
100% nailed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And again,
And
the
so
vibes. Oh, the
right,
vibes
so
are
right
really
off the
good.
bat I'm like, oh, this is that element. This is what's going to let me feel that and do that
Hmm.
and like, help better understand what's happening even if it's not like a super exciting element, I guess.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
And I especially liked it once it starts to become clear that it's like this isn't just like a game thing. Like this is
Yeah.
something Saga can do.
Yeah. It's like an
Yes.
expression of, I mean, as you find out later, she's like clearly got some sort of paracausal abilities happening for her.
Yes. Which
Yeah.
It's
which
like
is
a
another
really
thing I liked
slow
about
reveal.
Hmm.
which another thing I liked
Yeah.
about the Valhalla like Tor and Odin stuff, because like at first when she's profiling people, she's just kind of like asking a caricature, and it's like, is this semi like mind reading or something like that? Like what's actually going on here? And then when Tor and Odin like flip the script and like sit down in the seat and like explain to her, it was like, oh wow, it was like, oh shit, this is like, okay, so this is a power that she has, and like she gets it from her
Right.
family, and like
This isn't just a game thing.
yes, yeah.
It was such a good like, and again, the pacing is done in such a good way where it's like you get kind of comfortable in that mind place, and like
Yes.
you kind of
Hmm.
think you know what it, and right when you're kind of, you think you know what it's about and stuff, yeah, they throw weird stuff like that at you, and then of
Yeah.
course there's the whole climax of her being trapped in it at the end, which is
Yes.
like,
Yeah, the way they're always flipping things on you, which is
Yeah.
so nice. It's like
uh,
classic
great.
horror,
Game
to get
design.
you
Yeah.
comfortable with something and
Loop.
then
Hmm. And then
use it
change the
against you.
rules and, yeah, use it as
Yeah.
like comfort against you. It's like just
The one thing I was expecting them to do that with, and I still don't know what this is, and then maybe it's just some dumb achievement thing. I don't know, because I don't look at those things. The deer heads.
Oh.
That you can pet. I was waiting for just like I'm like petting. I'd pet him every time I saw him.
Yep.
And I was just waiting for like one towards the end for me to go pet, and it just goes rah, and it's like fucking screams at me or something. Like it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know what they are.
They never did do. There is a payoff if you pet all of them.
Okay, I must have missed one then.
Okay, I must have missed a couple.
And it's weird because there isn't even an achievement for it, I don't think. But yeah, I didn't actually find them all myself, but I was so curious I looked it up after the fact.
Sure.
What can we? Do you want to say it or?
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Honestly, it's not that crazy. It's just like apparently it's like it's another like entity kind of that you're like communing with when you do that. There's like
interesting
a forest spirit kind of thing. So like once you've sort of petted all of the deer heads, it actually opens up like you find one more key, and it opens up a room with like a ton of supplies.
Okay.
That's how you get in there. It's in like the lodge in town.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because like like when I reached that point when it's like, all right, do your saga stuff because like you're about to reach the end of the game. I was like looking at my map and seeing all these locked doors, and I'm like, how the fuck do I get in there? I still don't know how to get. There's one in the diner. I don't know how to get into, and then I couldn't figure out that one. I got into the lighthouse.
Yep. Sorry. Yep.
I think that's the only like.
Yeah, I don't
bonus one I got into.
The diner either, but yeah, and there's like, I think there's like usually a page or two in there that give you some supplemental stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll probably replay the game at some point and try and hit all of that stuff, especially
since
that final draft.
I'm gonna do the final draft thing, but probably I don't know, probably next year or later this year at least.
I want to let myself forget at least some
yes.
details and then go in and play it fresh.
Yeah.
I did enjoy like getting into the lighthouse so recently. Like I did enjoy, and even towards the ending, again flipping the script of like Ilmo and
Yakko,
Jakob and like.
Also, man, what great
they.
Ilmo and Jakob.
Yeah, I didn't think like I was like, why are these like tourist guides like so involved in what's going on here, and like the idea that like they're also preventing Cauldron Lake from bubbling over, and they've developed a cult, but it's really more of like a night watchman group. Like, yeah,
I loved the sort of twisty dynamic with the cult of the tree.
Yeah,
it had me guessing for a while.
Yeah,
but especially man. But again, Liz got to listen to me be smug about guessing certain things right. But again, I love that I love that process.
Yeah. What about
commercials are so funny.
Oh,
I love their commercials, but I missed Night Springs dearly. Like
I also missed Night Springs. I was hoping we would get at least one episode of Night Springs before the end of the game.
Yeah.
But man, those commercials were very fun.
They're excellent.
Genuinely sad when Jakob died.
Any highlights from Alan Wake's like writing board kind of puzzly interactions?
I thought it was cool. I kind of loved it less than Saga's again.
Sure.
But
I loved altering the
the flashlight wand or whatever, the wand light bulb thing.
The flashlight, and I liked rewriting the scenes. I thought
Yes.
like that all felt really satisfying and looked really cool.
Yes.
I agree. It was really cool from like a set piece
perspective.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think it was one of the key things that made Alan's sections feel really distinct.
Yes.
From Saga's sections is that differentiation between the mind place and the writer's room. And yeah, I did really like playing with that. That was
yes.
I liked seeing that and having like watching it have like a material change in the world, and the sort of puzzle that turned into was really satisfying.
Yeah, I thought even from like a techie like point of view. Like I really liked the medium and like the whole push for the medium was like, oh, you're like, you're in two worlds at once kind of thing. And like just the fact that like Alan Wake now can, a couple years later, it's just like hold X and now the complete like the entire world's changed, or like you go into the menu and click one post-it note and now like the entire scene has been changed and stuff's in or out of it. Yeah. I
cool.
I really thought, switching things around like that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it does. I'm gonna keep coming back to this, but man, it really reinforced you feeling what Alan is feeling. Like you were an active agent in writing this story that you're like experiencing the same thing that Alan is feeling as he tries desperately to write this, to change it, to get the outcome that he wants. And
Yeah.
you're kind of trial and erroring things, and you're hoping that this works so that you can progress. And it's the same feeling that Alan is having, and it really kind of puts you in a sympathetic place with his struggle at this.
Was
Again, I think that's the beauty of this game, is so much of it just marries together in that sort of synthesis. And
Yeah.
was Thomas Zane an entity before this?
Oh yes.
Okay,
Very
I don't.
much.
Okay.
He's Tom. He was different. Thomas Zane is one of the most confusing parts of the
Okay.
game,
Yes.
because Thomas Zane is Tom the poet.
Uh-huh.
He's the guy in the diver's suit in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that wrote the story that made the clicker real. You
Okay.
think, because Alan finds the story and the clicker in a shoebox in the first game.
Yeah, the whole shoebox stuff was.
He's Jesse Faden's favorite poet. If you play the DLC for Control.
Oh, nice.
It was very interesting that he is like a different character in this game. He is a filmmaker. He's like a Finnish filmmaker now,
Director, yeah.
instead of being a poet. And yet at the same time, you still see like posters and stuff that say Tom the poet everywhere and stuff.
And then like
It's still unclear, like, is Zane Alan? Did Alan write Zane? Did Zane write Alan?
yeah,
Did both of them,
like is he
any of them
related to Torin
each
Odin
other?
or yeah,
Yeah, and
or
because
they know each other
yeah,
from.
he was like, his wife was Barbara Jagger, who is the old lady that the darkness is inhabiting in the first
Yes.
game.
Okay.
Yeah, so Tom is a pretty big and ambiguous figure in the Alan Wake story.
Okay.
But yeah, I still don't quite know.
Yeah, it's still a little
wonk.
Undefined.
Yeah, and it gets like pretty weird with, especially like the movie theater section of and the Overlook Hotel sections of Alan's story, because it's just like Zane is sort of an adversarial figure for a while, and then it's like also there's like, again, it's like I don't even tell, like, there seems to be implications that Zane and Alan are the same person.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean they're the same actor.
Yeah.
Now they're the same actor. We had never, I guess that's the thing. Like, we had never seen Thomas Zane before. We'd seen him in the diver's suit in the first game.
Okay.
And we'd seen some pages that he wrote.
Yeah.
But and then seeing at least a version of him in the dark place in this game, and having it be the same actor as Alan, is like, oh, like, did Tom rewrite himself into being Alan? Was Alan not real before Tom Zane tried to rewrite the story? Like, again, it's like, we don't know.
Right, and then there's like, and like Zane's trapped in the dark place as well, and then Alan kills him, but he's not dead actually.
Kind of,
And,
yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's all very, very convoluted still.
Yeah.
Fun fact though,
it's like a dream.
The actor who plays Alan, at least like physically.
Yes.
So we're hearing his real voice when he's playing Thomas Zane.
Yes.
Interesting.
But then when he's Alan, like that's all dub work by another actor.
Which it was really cool how they handled that at the Game Awards.
Yes.
But then having the voiceover there, actors
yeah.
singing and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I felt like when they interact in the hotel room, I was like, is Zane not an entity and or like is he stuck in the dark place and like trying to swap? But like that's the plot of like Scratch, and so that's a whole nother can of worms too. It's like
it's also like is this version of Zane something that Alan made? Is it something the Dark Place is trying to use to trick him or manipulate him? Like what is going on?
Yeah. We now know what Scratch is.
We do.
Which is interesting because there's an FBC file on the entity,
that was really
called the shadow or whatever.
Yeah. I remember that from Control, right?
Yeah, and there's also just like once the FBC shows up in
Alan
Wake, there's a few. You find a lot of like files on the different entities and altered world events that have happened around Cauldron Lake, and that was cool.
Well, because the typewriter was in Control, right? And like,
kind of. There was a typewriter in Control. I don't think it's the typewriter Alan's using.
Oh, I thought that was the implication, but yeah.
It could be.
Possibly. I'm not sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
What about what do we think of like Alice's like portion of the game, or like I don't know.
I actually loved Alice's portion of to me, like especially getting progression on what was happening with Alice was sort of the payoff for each section of Alan.
Yeah.
It was kind of, it was both Alan's goal, but also like I found it really like, okay, I need to find out what happened to Alice. Like,
yeah.
And that's why I was like, watch the after credits scene, please.
Yeah, I do. I still am like, I don't know if I fully understand what's going on still.
It's a lot to grow
with all of that, like, because like at one point it's like Alice has killed herself, but like actually she's just jumped into the lake to go back to the dark place, and so maybe it's like, and like the big spoilers, but at the end, when Saga like shoots Alan with the bullet of light, to like stop Scratch for good, seemingly, like and then he bounces back, like, because it's not a loop, it's a spiral, whatever that means.
Yes.
It was both powerful and confusing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, what?
Like it felt like a revelation.
Yeah, like, oh, that should mean something, right?
It made thematic sense in sort of the way that Alan's story has gone in the game, and yet it's also like, what does that mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That means something. That is a significant revelation. I don't understand it fully.
Right. I'm assuming that means that there's still a chance for Alan to get out. That's my read of it.
Yeah.
It's the question sort of becomes, is he spiraling down or is he spiraling up?
Yeah.
Right, and she talks about like destruction and ascension.
Ascension, yeah.
And he and mentions that we've done the destruction.
Yes, exactly.
So now it's time for the ascension, and so I'm assuming that means now that there's a way for him to get out, but it's about spiraling the other way.
I think that's the implication. Is that he can start to reverse the direction he's traveling on the spiral.
Yeah.
He's not going in circles.
Yeah.
Which sort of reinforces that, Alan's whole thing is like kind of doing the same thing over and over again, but it's different and there is progress every time in the game. And then the question is like, is he moving up or is he moving down? When did he change direction? Has he changed direction yet? All of that kind of stuff.
Right, or is this the beginning of him changing direction? Because he now knows that there's two directions.
Exactly.
Because when it's a loop, there's no direction, right? You're just like,
he's just like, how do I break the loop?
How do I break the loop? But yeah, but it's like you don't break it; you just go, you go the other way.
So yeah, I think that was sort of the revelation for Alan, is like, oh, I can start looping in the other direction.
Right.
So I don't know. Definitely cool, very thought provoking.
Yeah. Yeah. As you would expect.
Really ambiguous, I would say.
Yeah.
There was a moment where I was like, "Oh, they're like, this is it for Alan." I was like,
oh sure.
for a second, I was like, "Okay, this feels like this is pretty good." Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then.
I know I had kind of mixed feelings about like, oh, yeah, I guess that's thematically appropriate. He has to die at the end here. But...
Well, yeah, just all the times that they've beaten us over the head with like, I had to write a horror story and abide by its rules. It's like usually and it was like the hero has to pay a big cost at the end or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, oh,
yeah. So I was like, this is finally that cost. It's at the end of Alan. It's the only way to save.
Yeah, he kind of sacrifices himself to be the one that pays the cost for the story that you wrote.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately, he's like, we know now that it's not just the clicker, it's not just Cauldron Lake. Alan himself is like kind of a problem.
Yeah.
He is. Like his own paracausal abilities.
Yeah.
Are an issue.
Yeah.
And so like so there was a moment there when he we thought he was gonna be gone for good. Where I'm like, yeah, I mean, otherwise like
should keep
FBC
happening.
is gonna be on him forever.
Yeah, he's gonna end up in a containment cell or something.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and even Estevez, who I love, by the way, great character.
Another great character, yeah.
I love the FBC and the way like everything is just so blasé all the time. Is just I love it. We're like, well, we really screwed this one up. Oh well.
Yeah, like, having that sort of bureaucracy of the FBC be a presence in the game, especially when they actually show up with Estevez being sort of the avatar of that, and everything was so. It was so good. It was such a good like change of perspective and pace, and sort of a juxtaposition to the characters that you've been inhabiting for the whole game and all of that.
Yes, a nice like injection of just like suddenly it was like I snapped back. I was like oh right, yeah. More cool stuff.
Very much so.
It just keeps getting cooler. It doesn't like
it
doesn't stall out.
No, it doesn't. The game is very well paced.
Yes.
Which is impressive.
I agree on a whole, but there were still moments, and like this could just be like the position I've put myself both in Control and Alan Wake, where I was like I wasn't quite finished with the game, and I knew we were going to talk about it, and so I had to like marathon it to like the last quarter of the game. Maybe I've had to do that twice now because I play games very slowly, like especially a game like Alan Wake. I'll play a few chapters, then I'll go play something else because each of those chapters feels very, it's episodic, so I can come back later.
Yeah.
And so there was still just like some moments where I'm like, wow, really? It's not over? You still got things to say, huh? Okay, let's go.
Well,
what is it now?
Yeah, like I said with the studios, where it's just like I feel like me and Angela would get through like maybe a chapter or two every session, but like one of the times where it was like just a 15-minute running around in running around the studio and then end of chapter jump back to Saga, I was just like, did this need to be its own little interlude? It felt a little choppy at that point, but I mean, other with long stretches of when you had choices where it was just like, okay, big set piece, jump back to different character.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure if this impacted it all, but I deliberately did like I'll do one Alan chapter, then I'll do one Saga chapter.
Yeah, I went back and forth as well.
Cool.
And that helped with any mundanity. That helped a lot with it.
We talked a little bit about, we talked about the main ending. The one thing that I did want to talk about, or at least highlight, was just like one of the things that always stuck with me in the first Alan Wake was like that the rock concert felt a little shark jumpy at the end of Alan Wake, and then you jump into a helicopter and like fly off. Like that felt a little. And like the fact that they did it this time, like again had the big old rock concert, but it didn't feel shark jumpy, was just kind of fun and interesting. But I remember that from the first one.
It's almost like they had like a better idea for how to have that moment, or I don't know.
Yeah.
and I think there's a lot of instances like that where events repeat themselves, the same but different. And it's true in the dark place, but it's also kind of true in the story that Alan creates, which I think is interesting. Also, I agree, man, the concert at the end did feel less ridiculous.
Yes.
Probably because we already had gone through a musical number.
Also,
yes.
Yeah, it was less ridiculous than the music number we had already been through. That is true.
Yeah, and we'd played more Remedy games, and I think we were just more ready for that,
Also, I think in the first game, it's sort of Alan and Barry just trying something.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of flailing,
They don't really. They're just maybe this will work. Whereas this time, it's characters that have a pretty good understanding of what they're dealing with. They've done stuff like this before. Everybody feels a little more competent and this is a plan that they are trying to execute.
Yeah.
Some stuff goes wrong, whatever. But it's again, having Tor and Odin be active members, participants in this and stuff too, made it really. Man, I love those boys.
Yeah.
Just but it made you feel really like you're pulling out all the stops and the cavalry's coming through in the RP and that last chapter with Saga there felt really cool.
Yep.
Oh, it was such a blast.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Man, it just felt really oh, you've got FBC equipment, they know what they're doing, they're in on the plan. It's I don't know, you just feel like you have the ability to fight back and you have a plan, and all of a sudden it's let's fucking do it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it just helps that whole game because it's everybody just feels more competent this time around because Alan, he's done this before, He's a pro now, and Saga's an FBI agent, so it's not like what have I gotten thrown into? She's a trained professional.
Yep.
Yeah, they did I think that's one thing. Alan is kind of he's not incompetent in the first game, but he's kind of bumbling and confused the entire time.
Yeah, he's kind of just thrust into this and just trying to figure it out as he goes. But this one, he's just I know what I need to do. My motivation is clear, but it's just how do I do it?
Yeah, and it's also even going down to the combat. I remember back when Alan Wake came out, the first thing I remember being yeah, it's combat's kind of so-so. You don't move very well, but Alan's also an out-of-shape writer, so he can't run very long, and so it kind of matches the narrative again there. And the improved combat and stuff really helped too, because Alan's been fighting for a long time, and Saga is a trained, in-shape FBI agent.
Yeah.
And so you feel more competent in the combat too,
the
moment-to-moment combat gameplay.
Yeah.
Overall, everybody feels more capable, and they're still up against this crazy odds, and they don't understand what's happening all the time. But you feel competent, and there is more of a good element of that.
Definitely. Yeah. So I think we all haven't jumped into final chapter yet. I think I like the plan of give it a while, forget some stuff, hop in.
Final draft.
Your final draft, yeah.
Also, man, I was not expecting them to just drop that out of nowhere.
Oh yeah.
The game came out.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's a new game plus that actually changes and adds.
Yeah, it's actually different. Yeah.
Holy crap! I was not expecting them to do that.
Although I haven't read much on it to I don't wonder how much is different or how much there is added or
I deliberately haven't looked up or read anything about what contents are in there.
Right. I just kind of want to know, I guess, if how much that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, how essential it is to understanding the story and.
Yeah. Am I missing out if I don't do it, or is it oh no, you got it? It really ties everything together, or you learn more about whatever.
I would love to know that, and also I want to know as little as possible if it is
big story changes or something.
But...
Totally. I mean, one loose end that I definitely want to see tied up, and this might be one of the DLCs, or it's just part of the dark place since Alan and Alice are there now. Is Sheriff Breaker is still there?
Oh my god!
As far as
yes,
Breaker is like one of the biggest question marks for me.
Yeah.
And also,
and
like, is he?
So and Door, we still didn't
Yes.
learn
Also,
much about Door.
Is he like a big quantum break thing? Is that his thing? Is he like? Because he's Sheriff Breaker. And
Yeah.
he's
No.
after Door.
It's the actor who was the main character in Quantum Break.
Is he? Oh my god!
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But I don't know if he's supposed to be that character, or is it just if it's just they they liked him, or it's a reference or whatever.
Yeah. Oh my god!
But then so we still don't know much about Door. Like Breaker is still lost there, and he knows the most about Door because his board gets more and more
progressively more filled out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, is Door Saga's dad?
Interesting.
Ooh. That's my theory right now, especially when he talks to Alan and like basically threatens him. Door basically alludes to like, you are fucking with people that I care about.
Yeah.
At one point, I was sitting
Sure.
there and Liz got to again listen to me, but I was like, oh holy shit, Door's Saga's dad.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
And that's not confirmed or anything, but that's sort of my biggest like kind of crackpot theory here.
Sure.
I would love to see more about Door and what is going on with him and Breaker and all of that.
Yeah. Well, and like we know that Breaker has seen Jesse.
Yep.
Because he references the red-haired woman.
Yep.
On his board.
Yeah, and Jesse's been play the AWE, and like Jesse's using the Overlook Hotel to pop in and out of at least things that border the dark place and that and stuff too.
Okay.
There's
I'm very curious how this is all going to get connected.
Yeah, curious what. I mean, if it's wrapped up in final chapter or if there is more tangentially related DLC or future content.
Or what's going to happen in frickin', I guess Control 2 is going to
be Control 2, yeah.
Like, also, man, I'm so excited for another Control game.
Oh, me too. Yeah. I'm going to be really stoked to play it in 10 years.
Yes.
I'm
trying. I can't get like too excited about it, but oh my god, I'm excited that it's announced and happening, and that's what they're working
in production.
It's good to know that it's coming.
Well, cool. Any?
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
Because I'm like, is Door part of the FBC? Is his like?
Yeah, he could be.
Is he actually like? Does he like work there in his job? Because there's like one bit where like Door, it's like he gives like a little speech. I think when you do like the profiling bits, you can profile him at some point.
Oh yes, yeah.
And he's like, I'm the Door because like I'm in both sides. I'm in both places at all time, or I can be in both rooms at the same time. I'm like the gateway between, and I'm like, is he like an entity? Is he a man whose job it is to like keep the dark place from like spilling through?
Sure.
Is he like
something with the FBC, whether he's like an entity that that they've interacted with, or he's actually like more directly, maybe he was a man, like Saga again, like seems to imply that her dad was working on some kind of sketch things, and like I think it's sort of, if you read between the lines, that her dad could be an FBC agent.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. And like I just wonder if, like you said, that would make sense if Door is her dad and is like an employee or at least an entity that works with.
Or like he started as an agent and then he got sort of stuck between dimensions during experiment or something.
Was assigned to
and that's like where her abilities with the mind place come from or something.
Yeah, or he's also a para-utilitarian and like, he's got some sort of powers that are similar to Saga's, or let him sort of interact with liminal spaces or something. I don't know. Definitely one of the more fascinating things that doesn't have like any answers attached to it.
Yeah, so I'm very eager for those answers, and I wonder if that'll be DLC stuff or if I'm gonna have to wait 10 years to learn
Play Alan Wake 3 or something.
Control 2.
Control 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Any other kind of big swath that you want to talk about it before we get to final thoughts?
I thought I had something.
I
Well, I
didn't.
guess like I'm curious what people's like, because we obviously enjoyed the game. But I'm curious what people's like criticisms were. You know, because
Yeah.
nothing's perfect.
Oh no.
One of the slightly annoying things was just a having to go through the mind place to get to the map was a little annoying because like rather than just being able to like press a button and like see the map,
Well,
I had to like
if you tap the left side of the
Yeah, if you press the other side of the pad,
touchpad, you go right to the map.
interesting. Oh, didn't know that.
So yeah, if you press the right side, it takes you to the mind place. If you hit the left side, it takes you straight to the map.
Oh, interesting. Okay, didn't know that. In Alan Wake's world, in my like completionist brain, the words of power wouldn't be removed from the map whenever I got them, and so like I just had these giant circle question
Interesting.
marks. So that was just kind of annoying. Um,
Yeah, it might just be a bug.
yeah, just a small bug.
I got really frustrated because I missed 2 words of power in areas that I could not go back to. So I wasn't able to get all the words of power, which was annoying.
Can you get all of them? Because I wasn't even close. I had like.
I don't know.
I didn't. I wouldn't think so.
I think I was only missing 2 or something, but
Oh wow.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Like I felt like I was just missing a lot of stuff, and like until like I started playing the last few days to like catch up for this, like I was being really thorough.
I mean, I think it's like the lunch boxes and the weapon upgrades for Saga. Like, there aren't enough in the game to max out everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Well, because the words of power though are they're specific to like.
Yeah.
It's like you can't spend the points on like what.
Yeah, they're specific to the category, but
yeah,
I think there's not enough to max out every category.
Yeah.
I see, and that maybe that's just intentional design so that you're not
I think so.
overpowered or whatever.
Or build differently second playthrough or something.
I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like all of that was pretty like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never really felt any more powerful. I always felt the same level of power.
That's honestly my biggest criticism, I think, if I have any for the game, is like I thought the upgrades were really lackluster. There wasn't really a point where I was like excited to put points into most of them, or where I felt like, with very few exceptions, where I felt like a big like power spike, or like it was really made a big difference in the way I was playing the game.
2 crossbow bolts was definitely and retrievable crossbow bolts made the crossbow like my favorite weapon throughout the game.
That's
so
true. The crossbow gets a lot better with them.
Alan Wake's ones where it's just like
a little better, but it's still just like I never felt like I was being challenged so much that I was like, I need upgrades.
Yeah, I need 4 shotgun shells or something. Yeah.
And maybe part of it is like Alan's upgrades also felt like way less significant.
Oh yeah. Or it was just like it was like the shotgun was like you deal 10, 25 or 50% more damage when you hit multiple people with a shotgun or something. Just like I'm not even using the shotgun that much. Yeah.
And then I like almost never even then I'd like put points in that and I'd use the shotgun and be like, yeah, I guess that feels a little stronger.
Yes.
Like, but like the only time I was like hell yeah when I got an upgrade with Alan was when I got one of the rare words that increased my inventory size.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are the only upgrades in the game where I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
And like in some of them, like you don't get to like right before the end when it's like not helpful.
They need to expand your inventory earlier. I know you have like one more combat encounter after you find the last one, and it's like great.
Yeah. Cool.
And like finding like the rifle that takes up the entire length or something like that, and then I just didn't like the rifle.
I love the rifle because I took the rifle and I immediately took that perk that lets me like you do the focus shot.
Oh sure.
Yeah, getting the bullet time sort of shot on the rifle was so
yeah, and then the one where you can shoot through the darkness shield.
Oh,
and so I'd be like walking through the woods. I'd spot like a group of guys up ahead, and I'd be like, I don't even need to like fight them. I'd just be like pop, pop, pop.
Yep.
Move on.
Yeah, you get like bonuses for shooting things far away and for shooting like first shot on enemies and stuff. And, like, Yeah, that was what I did too. Is like that. Okay, I take it. I'm complaining about not impactful upgrades, but then I'm like, oh yeah, shooting through the darkness shields was really good on the rifle.
Well, I guess for me, like my complaint about that, because it does feel good, but like I got that like so you get it so close to the end, it feels like
I guess
I don't know,
that's the
or
thing.
it's pretty
I
far
didn't
along in the
really.
story. I'm like, I didn't feel like I
Yeah.
really had that much time with it.
Sure.
No, you really, especially like the stronger stuff.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of a problem with a lot of survival horror games. It's like by the time Resident Evil gives you the rocket launcher, you basically have one boss to fight.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's sort of a challenge, especially with survival horror, and they were definitely trying to make this more of a survival horror, I think, effectively this time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Resource
Yeah.
management.
That was one of the major marketing sell points.
Yeah. But
I read a review like partial way through it. Like I just saw like an IGN review and I just read like the first few lines, and they said something about like the jump scares detracted from the narrative, and I was like
what?
just going through. I was just going through the Valhalla, and I was like, okay, there's the nursing home's a little more jump scary than I think the rest of the game, but I was like, that's the only time I felt like there was quote unquote jump scares in the game. Like,
I mean, those happen throughout.
They're pretty, especially like you get a scary scratch face screaming in your face all of a sudden. That happens pretty regularly.
Yeah, I didn't think of those as jump scary as the woman.
I think when people are talking about jump scares, that's mostly what they're talking about.
Interesting.
They're complaining about the game is like the surprise darkness entity jumping out and going blah. Which,
like those things, the flashes, the screen flashes, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
yes,
I do think actually that's one of my only big complaints about the game is that it just felt unnecessary.
I think it did a lot of the time to me, and I think this kind of worked with Saga being sort of like a psychic or a sensitive person. It's sort of like, oh, I'm getting these when paranatural shit is going down. It's almost like a warning in my spidey sense or something.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Patrick. I didn't mean to.
Yeah. No, I just it just was like I didn't need it. Like because I like mood more than and dread more than any of the jump scare stuff. And it just there were times I think especially at the nursing home where I'm like, we don't need this.
Yeah,
like it's already creepy knowing that Cynthia Weaver is like she's like wandering around and you kind of see her occasionally in the distance, and then I don't need every time I try to open a door this thing like screaming at me at a volume that I cannot adjust. They could
have made the volume adjustable or something. That's true. They were very loud. There were definitely times where I turned my TV volume down after one scream.
Yeah, once I got into a section where I knew they were there, I was like, all right, I'm going to turn this down, I guess. So now I'm going to lose some of the ambient volume, so I don't have to like have my eardrums shot out for this. So I don't know. That was honestly. I think doing it every once in a while, like if they did it just like a couple times, they would have been really effective and like would have got me really good, and I done what they needed to be. But I actually thought it was overused.
I think it was too. There were a couple that I thought were really well timed. I'm like, ooh, that one got me. But
yes, the first Cynthia Weaver one scared the shit out of me.
Oh my god, that one like made me physically jump out of my chair.
Yeah.
But overall, I agree. Moments like that would have hit a lot harder if they didn't overuse it so much.
Sure.
Especially with Alan in the dark place, I was kind of like over it after a while.
It was constant there,
It was pretty annoying, honestly. I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But it didn't really detract from my enjoyment of the game, but it didn't really add much for me either. With rare exceptions, where some of them were like really narratively effective.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so it's definitely not like, oh, I'll never do that. It was just like there was just a point where it's just like, God, okay, we're still doing this. Can you come up with another way to do this? Or if you're going to do it, maybe it's not like a full screen cutaway, because I know you love to do this like overlay video.
Yeah, seriously.
Thing.
Yeah, give me some
maybe make it more like that.
Semi-transparent. Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about the mixed media aspect. It's one of my favorite sort of studio trademarks of Remedy games is that mixed media.
Yes.
Oh, and it was like prime time.
They've really refined it over their games, and like this is the best it's ever been.
And there's just so many, and especially with the graphics that they have now. Like there were so many scenes where sometimes like they would go back and forth with some of the stuff where I'm like, oh, like it's so good I can't even tell with some of these.
Yeah, you walk up like Alan Wake, walk up to a screen and you're like switching, and like the screens, it's like just lit with different enough where it's like, and then you know when you're holding X in front of the screen and they switch into the FMV or whatever, and it's just like, oh, okay. Like,
also, man, a lot of that is lighting, and the lighting team deserves a medal.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't know if they won any awards for lighting on this game, any industry awards, but they should.
It is perfect. Did you guys watch all of Nightless Night?
Yes.
I think so.
Like it's in the movie theater.
Movie theater at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I stood in the theater and watched the whole thing.
And it's like, I don't know, like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
It's really long.
Yeah. Yep.
I know.
But I was like hooked. I was like, oh yes.
Minor criticism. Me and I'd be remiss if I didn't represent Angela a little bit. Whenever we like listen to like the KC echoes or whatever, he just kind of like he never says anything with what he's talking about. At least that's kind of how we interpreted it, where it was just like he's just like a cold city street, a detective.
Yeah.
And it was just like, what are you saying?
Actually, I didn't care for those.
I liked the like vibes and the noir aspect of it, but like
I couldn't move while I was going.
Yes,
I think that was the biggest thing. Is like in Control, they did that a lot too, but you could move.
You could be like, I'm gonna keep exploring while.
Yeah, it's usually like while you just get to like an area where you can explore, you're running down a long corridor or something, and it happens. So you still feel like you're moving. I didn't like being like frozen in place while those were happening.
I mean, general gaming trend. I want to be able to listen to audio logs while I move around.
Yeah, like didn't we learn this lesson? Like BioShock did this forever ago, you know?
Yeah. Right? And like, so.
See, I hated not being able to move during those. Other than that, I was like, okay, fine, give me your moody
character
piece, whatever. But like, god damn it, let me keep moving.
Also, man, I gotta pour another one out because James McCaffrey, who's the voice of Max Payne and Alex Casey, did pass away recently.
Oh no.
That's a shame.
Because man, his
that
gravelly delivery was like yeah. So that's another really sad.
Interesting. I wonder what they're gonna do with with Agent Casey, because he's clearly intended to.
Yeah,
he's alive.
Around still. Yeah. I know. I didn't expect him to make it to the end of the game, but he sure did.
Yeah.
And also, the narrative layers of Sam Lake writes Alan Wake, who writes Alex Casey, who is played by Sam Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I should have assumed that Casey was gonna make it.
Maybe.
That's him, you know.
I don't know. It would have been totally in character for him to just kill himself off too, I feel like. But,
yeah. To be the hero or something.
Yeah, or I don't know.
Well, cool. We want to put our final thoughts on this.
You betcha.
I will say right before we get to that, the music numbers in between chapters, like I just never like moved on. I just listened to whatever the 2-3 minute song is between chapters. Like those were all pretty were bangers, and then
that was something they did in Alan Wake as well that I always liked.
Yeah.
It felt really resonant. It felt like the end of a good TV show too.
Yeah.
It was like an invitation to sit and reflect on whatever cliffhanger they had just left you on.
Right. Gives you a breather, you know.
Yeah. And, it's always thematically appropriate to sort of the tenor of the story at that moment and stuff. I liked those a lot. Good soundtrack.
Before we get to the final thoughts, I got one final question. Could you play? I mean, we already said that you might not be able to get everything if you don't play Control. Could you play Alan Wake 2 by itself and still have a good time?
I think you can.
I think it's a lot less rewarding, but I think you can.
Yeah,
I would maybe watch a recap video of Alan Wake 1, and there's a lot of them that just do like the entirety of Alan Wake 1 and the relevant parts of Control on YouTube now.
Okay.
I would just watch one of those because you'll get a lot more out of it, even if you don't have the time or inclination to play Control. Although you should play Control because it's a great game.
Yeah, it's to say you should play Control. I'm actually going to be the. Yeah. I'm just going to go out and be like, you should.
Just go play it.
You should play those games.
That's kind of where I'm at too. Is like.
And Alan Wake's remastered now, so like.
Yeah. Like
go play Alan Wake remastered and play Control, and then play Alan Wake 2. It'll be there.
It's like you can play Alan Wake 2, but yeah, I honestly. I think that your experience will be so diminished having not experienced the other games. That like you're gonna have a better time just playing the other games and then playing this one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Kev, you want to hit us with your final thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, no surprise. This game is great. Remedy is a very special studio that does something really that no one else is doing right now, just with interactive storytelling and stuff. And yeah, they nailed it. This is like, man, just really something special. And made more special, I think, in some ways by what we just talked about, and that's that it's got a history and a continuity to it with these other games, and it is that much more rewarding if you care about this, in the same way that like a long-going book series feels rewarding.
Yeah.
And they just keep getting. Remedy keeps getting better as they refine their formula and they figure out sort of what their studio does. And I am so excited to see what they do with Alan Wake as far as DLCs and stuff going forward, but also just what their next games look like, where the studio goes in the future. Because, man, there's not many studios that get me excited in the way that a Remedy game gets me excited these days.
Yeah.
I feel like this game is games are art, and this game is high art. In like a really serious way, like in the way that like a really well crafted independent film is high art to like the Marvel movies of today.
Yeah.
And and I mean that in like a big way, like in a really positive way. This one's special. This has been a hell of a year for games, but I think it says a lot that this game was still in conversation with your Baldur's Gate 2s, or Baldur's Gate 3s, and your Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdoms. Man, I can't say any games right. I think that it means a lot that a game like this was still being talked about in the same breath as those games in a year like this.
Yeah.
And it's deserved, and I'm very excited by this. Also, if you're on TikTok and you haven't followed Sam Lake, and you want to just see Sam Lake drink coffee slowly over and over again, I recommend doing that.
Nice.
He just sits there and he drinks the coffee slowly, or he does the thing that Casey and Saga do at the beginning of the game, where they drink coffee at the same time with just like a bunch of different people. That's Sam Lake's TikTok. Anyway.
Nice. Cool, Patrick. You got some final thoughts?
It's not a loop; it's a spiral.
Mic drop.
That's all I got.
That's all
you really do owe it to. If you like narratives like this type of storytelling in games, you owe it to yourself to play all these games. Honestly, there's no reason not to. Go play Alan Wake Remastered. Go play Control. I think both of those are like free PlayStation like catalog games now. So if you have like the right tier of
Plus or whatever.
PlayStation Plus or whatever, like I think you can get. I think both those games are in there.
Oh, great!
They are. They've also been given. Both have been given away for free for all PS Plus subscribers at different points, and I believe they've both been given away for free on Amazon. I think Control is free on Prime right now. Epic Games has given them, like, there's been a lot of opportunities and will continue to be a lot of opportunities to get these games for free or for very, very cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go do it. Go play these games, and then jump into Alan Wake 2, and it'll just be like you'll be as giddy as a school kid. It's that good. It's that fun. It's that just it's that much.
Yeah. I think Alan Wake is kind of one of the beacons of what narrative gaming looks like, and I think this is paying off. Gosh, 10 years, more than 13 years of gameplay from the first one, and the whole Remedy gaming universe is worth diving into, and I think it could also be a collective experience, like several of us said, like being able to play with a significant other. I think maybe 20 hours is a little long to like get a group of 5 people to sit down and schedule out a gameplay, but I think I think it's worth it because I think it's only improved by having even like post session conversations about what the heck just happened and trying to break it down, as that was a lot of what we just did, was just trying to figure out what's going on, and the fact that a game can be so thought provoking and so interpretive. Like I think it's only improved by more people playing it, and even playing it in group settings. So yeah, I loved it, and I'm glad that I played it. Well, cool. Thank you, friends of the Friend Zone, for talking about Alan Wake. I'm pretty sure we will continue to talk about this because it's definitely something to it's definitely a game worth talking about. So thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
But most importantly, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy this content. If you do, please follow, like, and subscribe to me on YouTube and Twitch so you can see more great content like this. I'll have links down below in the description. Thanks again. I hope you have a super day. I hope you have a super month. And I hope you have a super day. Bye.